If Solomon's archive is to be discovered at Hatzor, scholars are confident it will represent a quantum leap forward in our understanding of the history of the biblical world.
That, if it happens, will be sensational. That will be the great archaeological find of the century, if it happens.
In 1960, Yigael Yadin left Hatzor to follow the lure of mysteries elsewhere in the Holy Land. He directed his attention to a majestic fortress rising from the desert floor near the Dead Sea, Masada. Here, the ancient historian Josephus tells us, occurred another critical chapter in Israelite history. 1,300 years after Joshua's conquest, Israel is engaged in a fierce struggle for freedom against imperial Rome. 960 Jewish rebels besieged atop Masada commit mass suicide rather than be enslaved by the Romans.
Let our wives die before they are abused, and our children before they have tasted slavery. Josephus, The Jewish War.
After 2 years of painstaking work, Yadin discovered both support and contradiction of the Josephus account. He was elated to find 11 pottery fragments etched with names. These coincided with Josephus' description of how the rebels drew lots to determine their fate. With these bits of clay, perhaps, the rebels decided who was to take the lives of their fellow patriots. But Yadin was disheartened as he found only 25 skeletons, far short of the 960 Josephus says perished here. Unanswered questions and mysteries still persist.
Masada is a fabulous site. It was well excavated. It is now being published in the final reports. And the results will be interesting to scholars in many fields. But exactly to what degree that story confirms the historicity of the accounts in Josephus probably should remain an open question.
At Masada, Yadin launched a bold new approach to archaeology. For the first time, masses of volunteers aided in a major excavation. 2 of these eager recruits were a young newlywed couple, Eric and Carol Myers. Caught up in Yadin's vision of Masada, they decided to spend their honeymoon in a romantic quest for their biblical roots.
I followed my heart, I followed adventure, I followed the idea of doing something that I had always wanted to do, and I think that Eric felt pretty much the same way.
It was an adventure that we'll never forget. And climbing up the rock at daybreak and seeing rosy colored dawn break over the rock of Masada and over the hills of Edom in Moab on the other side of the Dead Sea in Jordan was just thrilling, and I'll never get that picture out of my mind. The tone and excitement that was set in that excavation enthralled us in a way that made us do it for the rest of our lives.
For Eric and Carol Myers, Masada was only the beginning of one of biblical archaeology's most illustrious partnerships. Masada, Israel's towering monument to ancient heroism, shrouded for 2,000 years in mystery. For 2 newlywed students of archaeology, Eric and Carol Myers, there was no more appropriate setting to begin a lifetime together exploring the biblical past. Today, the students have become the teachers, Consummate professionals in their field, they have discovered some of the Holy Land's most intriguing treasures. Their greatest strength is their passion for the past.
We felt to engage in the past, the best way to truly engage in the past was to get dirty and down in the trenches and feel it and do it.
You know, lots of people ask me to this very day, well, what are you looking for when you go to the Near East? What are you looking for when you're excavating at Sepphoris or at Tel Gezer or at Masada? And that question comes out of a kind of treasure-seeking notion about what archaeology is, that you're going to look for a gold treasure. It's, I think, very much fed by the Raiders of the Lost Ark mentality, that you're looking for the lost so-and-so. You want to solve a mystery.
Ironically, the Myers were to discover a treasure in an uncanny parallel to the exploits of Indiana Jones. July 2nd, 1981. In the hills of Galilee, Eric and Carol Myers were excavating the ancient city of Nabratin. At 7:30 that morning, they unearthed a chunk of limestone, mysteriously out of place amidst the rubble. They suspected the secret of the stone lay in its concealed underside. To learn that secret, they began the laborious task of lifting the half-ton fragment.
It was only after we had gotten it right side up and we all had a chance to look at it that I think the full weight and meaning of the discovery was acknowledged by me and by my colleagues.
What Eric and Carol Myers resurrected from the ruins that morning would capture the imagination of millions. A fragment of an ancient ark, by far the oldest ever discovered, a cousin to its legendary predecessor, the mysterious and mystical Ark of the Covenant. The Ark remains Judaism's most holy symbol, the repository for the 10 Commandments brought down from Mount Sinai by Moses. The Ark of Nabratin is its direct descendant. As dramatic a discovery as this was, it would be amplified by a bizarre twist of fate. On that same day, in 1981, that the Myers found the Ark, moviegoers were cheering a new hero named Indiana Jones. His quest for the Ark of the Covenant had primed the public appetite.
What we were quick to emphasize to our press officer was that we had not found a fragment of the biblical Ark of the Covenant, but only of its religious descendant in terms of synagogue archaeology. He said, that doesn't matter. You discovered an ark.
Overnight, the Myers propelled biblical archaeology into the main